behalf of the Human Resources and Organizational Development team, I want to welcome you to Understanding Ethics. This module will take about 30 minutes to complete. Throughout the training, you can access helpful resources by clicking the orange circle at the top right of the player. You can then return to your current screen. At certain parts of this module, you will encounter knowledge checks that will help to solidify key learning objectives, while at the end of the module, you'll be asked a handful of questions as a way to check your understanding.
So let's start with the questions that people around the world have been waiting for you to answer. And for now, I'd just like a
The big accusation against Enron is its use of shady partnerships to hide
I
debt.
have never
But
been
now a new
a quitter.
charge has emerged. A former
yes or no?
A quick scan of international headlines provides many examples of unethical behavior. In recent history, we've seen ethical scandals in politics, sports, business, and government. Typically, these scandals are covered by the news and become larger than life, almost to the point that they seem like they couldn't happen here. However, some of the same ethical dilemmas you just watched are present for you at PGCC right now. All it takes is one scandal for us to lose our reputation and no longer be able to achieve our mission of transforming students' lives. PGCC plays an important role in the community, and it is important that we maintain the highest standard of ethical behavior at all times if we are to remain our community's first choice for community college.
This module is designed to help you better understand what ethics are and how you can make the right choices when presented with an ethical dilemma. We will define what ethical behavior is, provide examples of common ethical dilemmas, and let you know how to handle situations in which you, your colleagues, or your supervisor may be subject to ethical challenges.
Ethics can be defined as the study of right and wrong conduct. It can also be defined as the decisions, choices, and actions we make that reflect and enact our values. You might be thinking, how is ethics different from values and morals? And that's a good question. Values are core beliefs that guide and motivate attitudes and actions. It is important to note that although we may tend to think of a value as something good, virtually all values are morally neutral until they are qualified by asking, how is it good? Or good to whom? The good can sometimes be just a matter of opinion or taste, or driven by culture, religion, or circumstance. Morals are individual beliefs about what is right and wrong. The great moral values such as truth, freedom, and charity have one thing in common. When they are functioning correctly, they are life-protecting and life-enhancing for all. A person who knows the difference between right and wrong chooses right is moral. However, a person whose morality is reflected in his or her willingness to do the right thing, even if it is hard or dangerous, is ethical. Ethics, then, are moral values in action.
As a public institution in the state of Maryland, Prince George's Community College is required to have a code of ethics for all employees to follow. This code of ethics applies to all faculty, administrators, full-time, part-time, and temporary employees. Ignorance of the rules outlined in the Code of Ethics and the Employee Handbook is not a valid reason for engaging in unethical behavior. As such, it is important that you familiarize yourself with the PGCC Code and the Employee Handbook, as the standards of ethical conduct set forth in this Code of Ethics shall be applicable without exception to all part-time and full-time officers and employees of the college. All officers and employees of the college shall conform to these standards without further directive. Failure to conform to these standards of ethical conduct so prescribed may lead to removal from office, termination of employment, or other action as the particular case may require.
To find the code, go to the MyPGCC portal under Governance, choose President's page. Then choose PGCC Code and PGCC Code again to access the titles that are currently viewable online. Title 15, which is related to public ethics, is based on the statutes put forth by the State of Maryland's Ethics Commission. There are also other ethical considerations that are discussed in the PGCC Employee Handbook, also accessible from the My PGCC portal.
Having strong institutional ethics enables PGCC to maintain a trustworthy and honest perception among our larger community. Ethical decisions, while sometimes difficult, lead to decision-making that is guided by what's right, which helps to provide decision-makers with peace of mind. Also, a strong ethical culture helps to make PGCC a great place to work. When you do better, you feel better. And when employees feel better about what they do, they enjoy coming to work. However, having a weak ethical culture creates a multitude of issues. First, ethical behavior is mandated by state and federal law. We run the risk of being sanctioned, losing our accreditation, and the ability to offer financial aid to our students if we exercise poor ethical judgment. Consequently, if we lose our ability to transform lives, we would also lose our livelihood and our good reputation within the larger college community.
Along those lines, it is important to report unethical behavior if you are made aware of it. The first place to go is your supervisor. If you don't feel comfortable going to your supervisor, or you think your supervisor is actually involved in the unethical behavior, you should speak to a member of the Human Resources and Organizational Development team.
As an employee of the college, you should be aware of various policies that govern what you can and cannot do. And if you are a supervisor, you are responsible for the ethical behavior of your reports. Unethical actions, or even the appearance of unethical actions, are unacceptable under any condition. You must apply your own sense of personal ethics, which should extend beyond compliance with laws in business situations, to making decisions in which the existing regulations may not provide specific guidance. It is your responsibility to apply ethical decision-making processes where specific rules do not provide all the answers. In determining compliance with this information in specific situations, ask yourself the following questions. Is my action legal? Is my action ethical? Does my action comply with the college policy? Am I sure that my action does not appear inappropriate? Am I sure that I would not be embarrassed or compromised if my action became known within the college or publicly? Am I sure that my action meets my personal code of ethics and behavior? You should be able to answer yes to all of these questions before taking action. If you can't answer yes, consult with your manager, who should be able to help you make the right decision depending on the circumstances.
Some types of ethical behavior are explicitly mandated by federal, state, and institutional law. For example, you might be familiar with ethical hiring practices, practices that provide an equal opportunity to all qualified candidates, as well as policies that prevent institutions from hiring only family members. In addition to ethical hiring practices, there are also laws that help protect employees once they have been hired. These are laws designed to help make the workplace a healthy space for people of all genders, orientations, races, and religions. These laws help to create a workplace that is free from discrimination, hostility, and harassment. Sometimes, though, there are rules that aren't as well known, but still present ethical dilemmas. We'll begin by taking a look at some of these dilemmas you might encounter, and then take a look at dilemmas that you might face with other people, starting with theft.
Theft is the act of taking something from someone else without their permission. Some examples of this would be stealing a car, robbing a bank, or taking someone's lawnmower from their garage. But there are more common, less dramatic ways that theft occurs, and it occurs very often at a person's place of employment. While intangible, time is a big area of theft. Some examples of stealing time include wasting time reading the newspaper at your desk, filling out football pools, or engaging in lengthy, non-work-related chats with coworkers. It also includes consistently breezing in a little late each morning or sneaking out early a couple of afternoons a week, excessive internet usage, or doing your online Christmas shopping during the workday. Theft also includes items like stealing cash, using the college's credit cards for personal and non-authorized charges, and using materials like copy paper or folders for personal use. While these things might seem harmless, they actually add up to really big numbers. Theft impacts our bottom line, which means that there is less money for compensation, benefits, renovations, and rewards. By engaging in employee theft, you are essentially stealing from your own pockets.
As a public institution, we are accountable for every dollar that is spent. Accordingly, ethical behavior assumes that you operate within your department's budget. Instead of a buy first and figure it out later approach, you should always use figure it out first and purchase later. The money that you overspend has to come from somewhere, and you may be affecting another department's initiatives, and your department will ultimately suffer the consequences later. Also, when submitting expense reports, only include the items that are necessary, along with the proper documentation. Be sure that you understand what expenses are eligible for reimbursement to avoid putting you and the college in a difficult spot.
Another area that is easy to overlook is how we acknowledge someone else's ideas or work. Plagiarism is defined as the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. This can happen unintentionally when you use a picture or video from a website that you like, but don't show where you got the information from. Ethical research and writing are paramount to maintain academic standards at a college. Also, in a professional environment, we are often asked to make presentations. It is common to pull text or pictures from an internet search on Google, but it is unethical to use the pictures without citations. Similarly, when designing invitations, flyers, or bulletins, be sure that you are free to use the pictures. Also, faculty members may have to submit professional portfolios to apply for promotions or tenure. In these cases, it is critical that the integrity of this process be respected in order to ensure a fair and honest assessment process.
Here then is a brief list of what needs to be credited or documented. Bottom line, any words, ideas, or other productions that originate somewhere outside of you have to be credited and documented. Receiving and giving gifts may seem harmless, but sometimes they give the impression of unethical behavior. In our Code of Ethics, no employee of PGCC may solicit or ask for a gift. We can't ask for a gift for ourselves or on behalf of another person. And in general, we can't accept gifts from people or groups that intend to do business with us or are already in business with us or who are lobbyists. Oftentimes, when people give you a gift, it's understood that they will want something in return later. In order to overcome this assumption and not be placed in a compromising position, we are not allowed to accept or solicit gifts. There are some exceptions, but they are very specific. If you are in a situation in which you might be receiving gifts, please familiarize yourself with this part of the code to prevent unethical behavior.
Sometimes, gifts can appear to present a conflict of interest. What is a conflict of interest? A conflict of interest is any situation in which an individual or the organization is in a position to exploit a professional or official capacity in some way for your personal or organizational benefit. A conflict of interest can become a legal matter, for example, when an individual tries and/or succeeds in influencing the outcome of a decision for personal benefit. How can you tell if you have a conflict of interest? The test criteria include not only whether you actually are influenced, but also whether the situation lends itself to improperly influencing you. Even if you are the most conscientious person, a conflicting interest may unconsciously influence you, and the mere existence of that interest may cause the propriety of your acts to be questioned. If you take an inventory of your outside interest, it should be possible to determine whether you are actually being improperly influenced, but also whether the situation lends itself to improperly influencing you. It is your duty to report to your supervisor or a senior team member of any known conflicts of interest within the college. Further, you should report any instances that come to your attention where non-college personnel misrepresent themselves and organization officials or employees.
Another area of potential conflict is in contractual relations. Maybe you're working with a contractor for your home, and they will do an excellent but expensive job. They offer you a 50% discount if you give them the names of 3 referrals. You know there's construction happening on campus, and you let them know that you can guarantee a contract from the college. This is against the Code of Ethics. You would be receiving a gift from someone intending to do business with the college in return for a favor.
First, only the Office of Procurement and Contracting is able to initiate contracts. Secondly, it can appear that the contractor is getting special treatment. Typically, the college determines there is a need and releases a request for proposals. Companies are all equal competitors for the bid, and no one is favored over the other for reasons other than cost, quality, and reputation.
We have a lot of talented people here at PGCC, and you can use your expertise to help benefit the community. Outside employment as a consultant, professional practitioner, instructor, or in a similar role is a legitimate expression of a competent professional, and as such may be undertaken at the discretion of the employee. However, employees are obliged to exercise sound judgment in accepting outside employment or engaging in other outside activities to ensure that such activities do not interfere with or otherwise impair the performance of their assigned college job responsibilities. Consequently, the college reserves the right to limit outside employment in the following instances: where your other job is interfering, and outside employment constitutes a conflict with your college position or impairs your impartiality.
In this module, we have looked at what ethics are and why they are important. You now know where to find the PGCC code, and you have a model for making ethical decisions. In order to complete your training, please complete the following short assessment.